plenty of cases are there. Now even Sotabin with the Japanese product that some of you would have used Sotabin, the low for risperidone. Risperidone will not produce much, but very low for amisulpride, ciprasidone and aripiprazole. Everybody knows it. Now, the metabolic syndrome caused by atypical psychotics, clozapine highest, olanzapine, thyroidazine, even when you include your so-called typical, thyroidazine is not really typical, it is a pseudo-typical, even in that atypical group, because of the receptor. Quetiapine, chlorpromazine, cetridone, and coming to your ciprasidone and aripiprazole almost equal to placebo. The least is molindone. So amisulpride is weight neutral or low. Why low? There are some isolated reports of weight gain. Isolated. The first report was from Greece on amisulpride, but it's very, very low. Aripiprazole neutral or low. Metabolic signal is very low. Asinapin low, but we have got limited data. In India, many people don't want to even take sublingual. I was discussing with Professor Alexander. Many people don't like even sublingually. We only eat, voracious eaters, so we swallow. And absorption is almost insignificant. And also the taste sensation. We are very sensitive. Even small sensation here we give significance. So what about the mouth gustatory sensation? Many people don't like asinapin. I mean, our private practice when you see it. Clozapine, substantial, which I have told you. Lurasidone, which is a new drug which is marketed, it's also supposed to be low, but we have got limited data. It is supposed to be a pro-cognitive, but because of the 5-HT7 receptor occupancy, but that's something different. Valoperidone, mild. Now, Sotabin, we do not have much data here, but in only Japanese data, but it produces. So, ciprasidone, very low. So, bottom line, amisulpride, the lowest is aripiprazole, ciprasidone, and amisulpride. This is the term that we can use. Weight gain with SGAs, so-called SGA, the term which was used, second generation. One of the useless terms, but anyway, we embrace many of the useless terms. Versus haloperidol. Haloperidol is the drug which produces the least weight gain, provided you don't use molindone. Okay? Molindone, we don't use it. Supposed to be very specific for hallucination in the history. So here you see amisulpride has got amisulpride and aripiprazole. Aripiprazole least and amisulpride also. Clozapine, olanzapine very high. This is by the gentleman who does basically look especially metabolic studies. Now, why our patients stop medicine or they are not adherent? Adherent because of the D2 receptor related extrapyramidal symptoms, hyperprolactinemia and tardive on the one hand. Second is the 5-HT2C H1 antagonism, basically weight gain. M3 receptor antagonism can alter insulin regulation. This you remember, M3 receptor antagonism. X is a functional domain that we do not know, an unidentified mediator of insulin resistance. We still have to find out. D2, M1 means muscarinic one. M1, M2, M3, M4, that all you know it. H1 histamine, except for histamine 3. Histamine 3 is presynaptic. It is supposed to be there for cognition. Okay, apart from that, this alpha-1 agonism produces sedation. Why I just put this slide? You just see our drugs that we do have, how much effect is there. A recent study which has come in Lancet by Luke, comparative efficacy and tolerability of 15 antipsychotic drugs in schizophrenia, multiple treatment meta-analysis, 12 suitable sites, and they have compared 15 atypical antipsychotic drugs and placebo in acute treatment. Excluded trials done in patients with predominant negative symptoms, concomitant medical illness or treatment resistance, and also stable patients. Just see the data. efficacy, clozapine, number one, that everybody knows. Clozapine is very good. Second ranking is amisulpride in the world currently. 2030 now. After 2 years, will it change? I don't know. What is the current? And olanzapine, the third, as far as efficacy. Risperidone fourth, maybe because maximum people are using it. Iloperidone, the least, but iloperidone has to be taken at least 8 to 12 milligrams twice a day. Okay. And I won't go into the politics, how it got licensed. That's another history. And all these drugs have got a history, how these things have come. That will be another pharma flora history. That another time I talk. So here, efficacy-wise, it stands next to clozapine. Extrapyramidal side effect, if you take up to 95% confidence interval, the most problematic drug is supposed to be haloperidol. The funny thing is, haloperidol here, it produces hyperplaquemia, but it doesn't produce weight gain. Haloperidol produces hyperplaquemia, EPS, and it doesn't produce much because it's a D2 supplement, it doesn't produce it. Why? Some people say amisulpride has a drug, they produce it, but haloperidol, even EPS and hyperplaquemia, it reduces the weight. So it cannot be correlated. Now you see here, clozapine, Cetridol, it's already once gone and again came, Cetridol. That is another story. That's a story means his story. It is not his story, it is a drug story. It is her story, it is his story, but it is a drug story. That's a funny story. That I will not tell you now. Now, olanzapine, extrapyramidal, more than 15 milligram, it can produce. But the gravity differs. All depends upon the type of individual with the drug name. There are so many other factors. Quetiapine, almost very, because it's a very innocent drug. It will not do much damage. It will not do anything good also. They say bipolar depression is one, even I have launched that product. Even Calabrese studies. But in your real practice, we will try something else. That I will be speaking another day, that is on IGPA I am speaking. Antidepressant in bipolar depression. What is the controversies and the clarity? So this is it. So here you can see amisulpride has got very, very low EPS potential. But it has got EPS potential when it goes to more than 600, 800 milligrams. Even acute studies you can give one 600, 800. But higher dosage it can. Sedation, the least one is amisulpride. If you want to dose off, if you want to say that today is Monday and tomorrow is going to be Wednesday, one day is gone. You are slept one day, so you can have clozapine. You can oversleep. Monday, Tuesday is out from your dictionary. That's a maximum sedation. Weight gain, haloperidol least, and olanzapine and clozapine highest. In this meta-analysis, clozapine and sotapine data is very low, and olanzapine, these two high. Even iloperidol produces. Lurasidone can produce, but less. All post discontinuation, suppose there are side effects, patient will discontinue. You say how long a drug, every time people used to ask me, how long drug has to be continued, antidepressant, how long? You suggest everything, so many guidelines. Patient decide how long he or she has to continue. And patient will dictate you, this is the best drug for me. Not you say. You say these studies are there. Sir, everything is fine. I want
3 years.
Yes. Amisulpride has got the least discontinuation from these studies. This is the literature I am quoting, which is a seminal journal, Lancet, high impact factor, and the person also is looked. Not Mohandas. Antipsychotic on amisulpride, glucose lowering. amisulpride an anti-diabetic? The survey around. Recently, in Obesity and Metabolism Journal, there has been animal studies, amisulpride is also anti-diabetic and minimal impact on prolactin levels, meaning we can have subtle modification of human amisulpride and it will not produce diabetes. Anyway, it's anti-diabetic and it will not result in hyperplaquemia. So these animal studies are there. Now why is this anti-diabetic? In Alzheimer's disorders trial, in 2013, most of the drug trials have stopped. Now they are targeting on anti-diabetic drugs. They are coming to Alzheimer's treatment. These are in the face to face. What causes metabolic syndrome? Appetite regulating peptides are the culprits, but neurotransmitters, all neurotransmitters, noradrenaline, serotonin, orexin. But here, especially the neuropeptide Y, agouti related protein in the arcuate nucleus, they are supposed to be involved in the appetite regulation. Leptin signaling, especially most of the upregulated ghrelin hormones, bind to ghrelin receptors at the GI tract, and also the vagal efferent. Ghrelin signals are transmitted to the dorsal vagal complex, and also ghrelin can pass through the blood-brain barrier at the DVC here, and also directly through at the hypothalamus here. Ghrelin stimulates neuropeptide Y and agouti-related protein neurons at the arcuate nucleus that produces obesity and weight gain. Drugs that do not have much effect on the leptin signaling will not produce weight gain. Example, amisulpride. Another important thing, muscarinic 3 receptor antagonism, which I told earlier, drug discontinuation. It can produce insulin control. In the initial slides I taught. You can see here, this is the muscarinic 3 receptor. STIs with high diabetic risk, olanzapine and clozapine, they are muscarinic 3 receptor antagonists. That is why they produce more weight gain and metabolic syndrome. Also, STIs with high diabetic risk has got effect on the dorsal vagal complex and hypothalamus. What causes it? Parasympathetic, acetylcholine, M3 receptors. Now, sympathetic adrenaline and alpha-1 receptors. Now, if M3 receptors are blocked by the antipsychotic, the sympathetic activity is not at all countered by the parasympathetic activity, leading to metabolic syndrome and arrhythmias. Another important 5-HT2C antagonism of atypical antipsychotics. Right. May disrupt its crosstalk with a 10 PTEN. What is PTEN? It's a signaling system. Phosphatase and tensine common deleted on chromosome 10. This is a 10. The signaling system, don't worry about it. It's a molecular biology, forget it. But there's something like that. There's a crosstalk between 5-HT2C receptor and 10 signaling system. That really affects the GSK3. GSK3 activation can produce cognitive dysfunction. GSK3 inhibition can improve cognition. That is why there was some suggestion that lithium may be even protective in Alzheimer's. There were some articles. GSK3 inhibition. And GSK3 inhibition, activation can produce metabolic syndrome. So, drugs which produces more weight gain, metabolic syndrome like clozapine and olanzapine have got this function. Procoagulancy, many of the atypical which produces metabolic syndrome can increase serum fibrinogen, increase plasminogen activator inhibitor 1, decrease anithrombin 3 drugs responsible are olanzapine, clozapine, and risperidone reported in the literature till now. So there are reports, risperidone data which has come from Japan, pulmonary embolism. These two are there even many articles. Metabolic syndrome, overnutrition, weight gain, obesity, all these things I have told you, it can produce cognitive deficits, not Alzheimer's, cognitive deficit, especially executive function, dysfunction, learning, spatial navigation, decreased attention, locomotion, and even memory. Meaning, we say schizophrenia itself has got a cognitive domain. Now we are giving an atypical, and are we doing more damage or are we doing good? It's up to you. These are theoretical. Amisulpride cognition. What is so special about amisulpride? It's an atypical antipsychotic. It's preferentially a D3 antagonist. D2, but basically D3 antagonist. Preferentially a limbic system. It has got no affinity to any other receptor except 5-HT7 receptor. 5-HT7 receptor is involved in two functions. One, cognition, and the sleep. 5-HT7 cognition and sleep. Lesser EPS, it's a presynaptic D2 antagonism. What is presynaptic? Presynaptic D2 is an autoreceptor. Presynaptic is auto, that's inhibitory. This antagonism will produce inhibition of inhibition, means it will release more dopamine. That is why low dose of amisulpride is good for negative symptoms and also affective symptoms. Right? That's the mechanism. Lesser EPS, insignificant weight gain, minimal metabolic alteration, most studied for core negative symptoms, especially in Europe, effective in affective symptoms, can be combined with clozapine because any treatment-resistant schizophrenia first augmented is amisulpride. Might aid in reducing clozapine-induced sialorrhea. There are articles on that. And augmented NPRs, I told you, might improve cognitive functions. Now, D3 receptor site and cognition. Where are the D3 receptors, especially in the ventral striatum and nucleus? Here, and this dark yellow is more concentration. Ventral striatum, ventral pallidum, and also antroventral thalamic region, and also substantia nigra, especially the reticulata region, not the compacta region. Now, what does it mean? D3 receptors and cognition, all dopamine signaling, it's an inverted U between dopaminergic signaling and cognition. D1 receptor is supposed to be procognitive, but more D1 stimulation will produce seizures. So many of the atypicals, ciprasidone they say, it is 5-HT2 antagonism, D2 antagonism, you can have D2 antagonism, SDA, plus that can produce a D1 agonism and also 5-HT2A1 receptor agonism. 5-HT2 agonism, 5-HT1. So these are all relative ones. High midbrain D3 receptor availability reduce functional connectivity between orbitofrontal cortex and frontoparietal networks. I will not discuss the functional neuroanatomy here. Another day I can talk about it. So it can modulate the prefrontal function. D3 blockade enhances release of acetylcholine in prefrontal cortex, maybe via, not directly, because dopamine in prefrontal cortex is a funny area, that receptor. That's entirely different. You would have read Stahl when you have learned about atomoxetine, you know about all. Maybe via thalamocortical projections. So the mechanism of acetylcholine release may be because through the indirect route. D3 receptor influence NMDA receptors acting on pyramidal cells and the postsynaptic cells in nucleus accumbens or indirectly at presynaptic levels in PFC. Why nucleus accumbens? So motivation.